Are you a conscious change maker, high achiever who is a die hard, or go home, all in or nothing at all type of person? Well, today we're diving into really mastering the concept of the compound effect and how you can actually use this for massive success and ultimately to experience a quantum leap. If you're new here, I'm Makosi. I'm also known as the Royal Shaman, and I'm a spiritual teacher as well as spiritual advisor to some of the most incredible elite leaders in entrepreneurship, entertainment, executive leadership, etc. So I bring you topics all around how you can integrate ancient spiritual wisdom in a very practical way to create soul aligned success. So we're talking about the compound effect. And this is a very underestimated tool because so many of us have been taught that in order to get success, you have to go to extremes. You have to work hard. You have to grind. You have to, you know, take massive action. And I actually believe that in many instances, if taking massive action is already your default, most likely the reason why you're not experiencing the quantum leaps that you desire is because you haven't mastered the compound effect and what I call 1% aligned action. So, most of us create goals from this place of thinking that we need to stretch ourselves in order to achieve. If you're in the manifestation space, a lot of the conversation or myths around manifestation say that, oh, you just need to imagine it, right? And these seem like two very different opposites, very different extremes. But I take a very integrated approach, and my perspective is that if you really understand how human beings work, and if you understand how this reality works, you do not get your goals. You get who you be. You get your standards. You get how you show up each and every day. And if you are taking the approach of like go hard or go home, oh, I have to take massive action, what happens is you are taking massive action. Kudos to you for doing that, but it's unsustainable because you're taking it from the place of I'm not it. I am not the person who does this. And so for me, it feels like massive action, right? Where to someone else who lives that reality all the time, it probably isn't massive action for them. It's just another day, right? If you are someone who deals in big deals every day, right? Someone else could see that huge deal as a massive action, but to you, it's an everyday occurrence, right? So we want to start approaching creating our desires, our goals from our standards, from who we be every day, and do this in a way where we don't collapse. Because when you take a huge action and you haven't allowed yourself permission to see yourself in that light, you will ultimately collapse because you will feel like a fraud. You'll feel like an imposter, right? So you can create success one of two ways. I'm not going to say that that doesn't work. However, what I notice is that when you have not attuned to or aligned with the frequency of or the vibration of that version of you who actually experiences that success as an everyday byproduct, as a natural occurrence, ultimately what's happening is you are trying to catch up to your success. You are trying to become the person who holds that success. And if you can't do it, because there's a very short window, if you can't do it, that success collapses. My preferred way and how I support my clients is for you to first step into that identity. First embody and become that version of yourself, and the success that you desire will come naturally. It will come as a natural byproduct. And bonus, you will actually enjoy the process much more. So these small actions add up over time. If you remember back in probably maybe your high school, college, maybe as early as middle school, I don't really remember exactly when we really learned this. But if you remember seeing a graph, the compound effect, in the beginning, right? 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4, right? 4 plus 4 is 8. And so at first, you can see that these incremental things, these incremental steps that you're taking, seem like not much is happening. It seems like there's an illusion that change is not happening because it's so seemingly minuscule at first. But over time, the compound effect kicks in and you see a massive leap, a quantum leap, right? So we can see that with numbers, but this also applies to our habits. It applies to our behaviors. It applies to our thoughts and our decisions, right? The other beauty of this is taking that 1% small aligned action every day takes a lot of the resistance out of it. So, if you're wondering why you haven't yet achieved what it is that you desire, most likely you're experiencing a lot of resistance, right? Because it seems like it's such a big thing that you have to do, such big changes. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to move to a different city and I'm going to have to find a new partner. And like all of that feels very big. But if you let it be small at first, in a very short amount of time, massive transformation happens. And I'm going to say as short as 1 week, 30 days, 90 days, you can experience massive transformation by taking 1% aligned action. So, the other point that I think is really important to also just keep in mind is that when you look at your goals, instead of looking at what do I need to do in order to achieve that goal, instead you think about who would that version of me be and what would be a natural day-to-day experience of that version of me. Because this isn't just about adding 10 to-dos to your to-do list. It's about being really clear about what those slight differences are. In fact, I'm going to use this example, like the example of me recording this right now live on YouTube, as an example. I didn't think about, like, oh, what are all the things that I could do in order to create my next level? I reflected on in my next level, who would I be? And I came to the conclusion, oh, that version of me is probably doing more long form content. And then it just became a matter of like strategically, where would I make long form content and what would be the best use of it? Strategy is always really easy when you start with identity, who you need to be first. So if you decide that you're going to start incorporating this method, it's really important that you give yourself permission to be patient and to be persistent, because this is not about being perfect Patty and doing, never quote unquote falling off the wagon. This is about embracing that you are going to fall off the wagon and that's okay, right? But you just get back up. This is not about putting pressure on yourself to be more perfect. It's about giving yourself permission to recognize that the transformation you desire may take time, but your job is to enjoy the journey along the way and to reduce the resistance to being on the journey. When you do that, when you are really like fully surrendered to this is going to take as long as it needs to take or not, um, and it could happen very quickly, it could happen over 5 years. It's that energy of like, I'm doing this thing for the love of myself, for the love of the experience, for who I'm becoming in the process. That energy creates success every single time. Like you literally cannot fail. Now I can't say that for sure. Oh, if you have a goal to, create a $1 billion company, you might. I'm not going to say that that isn't possible. It's completely possible. But also, ultimately, that doesn't matter. I know that sounds really crazy, but ultimately, that doesn't matter. What does matter is that you operate in alignment with who you're here to be, that you give yourself permission to evolve, to become, to see these goals not just as destinations but vehicles for deeper levels of your own self exploration and growth for the sake of growth. Now, I want you to think about kind of as your homework, as your takeaway from this. I want you to think about the different areas that you can apply this method to, whether that's changes in your environment, whether that's how you're learning instead of binge learning, compound learning, right? Um, habit stacking, shifts in how you communicate, how you show up in and be visible, right? Letting it be small and celebrating each and every one of those small wins along the way so that you stay motivated and that you stay enjoying the process, that it's not just about the end destination, but that you are celebrating yourself and who you're becoming along the way. That's all for today. I am so excited to be doing these live videos. I'm going to be doing these on Tuesdays and Thursdays for now, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And I'd love to hear from you. So you can always send me a DM on Instagram, or if you're watching this live on YouTube, you can comment below. Also, if you ever want to learn how to work with me or take my free quiz, you can also find that in the description box. I'll see you next time.